From deep in the Burbank Media District, it's time for another edition of myBurbank Talks. This podcast is presented by the staff of myBurbank. Now, let's see what's on today's agenda as we join our program.
Hello, everybody. Craig Sherwood with you again, along with, of course, the infamous Ross Benson.
You mean that today is a show day? I forgot my sweatband, and it's sweating like heck. It's got to be 110 degrees. I'm glad it's 32 minus something in this studio.
Well, you got your tooth with you at least, right?
I got all my teeth, right?
You got all your teeth.
Yeah, I got.
There you go. As long as it's all there. Okay, well, we're live with you on YouTube and Twitter. So hopefully, if you're watching, you won't get too fed up with us for a while.
And don't forget, we're deep in the heart of the media district.
Absolutely. Let's go on with the week that was and the week that will be, the July 24th edition, and we're going to start off with last week. And Monday, what happened? Absolutely nothing. We just canceled last week, or last Monday, I should say. Tuesday, we had a lot going on.
Well, actually, Monday there were no meetings. The day did go on. I changed my calendar, but there were no city meetings. There were no events, no ribbon cuttings, no parades, no fireworks. Well, there's probably fireworks, but let's go to Tuesday.
Starting off, there was an LAPD pursuit that was in Burbank, and a couple officers were injured at Keystone and Verdugo. And
don't you have that pursuit?
We do have the pursuit thing here. There we go. They're chased them around. In fact, they actually carjacked 3 people.
Does it stop, or do we hear?
No, we'll stop it right now.
Oh, good.
There we go.
Yeah, this guy, this suspect, carjacked a couple of people. LAPD lost cars. They did crash in Burbank. I saw on the fire department got dispatched to Verdugo and Keystone for an extrication, and I saw on the news a couple of LAPD officers getting loaded into a Burbank paramedic van, and that was on every news channel because I guess the guy, it was several hours, but he carjacked
2 more people.
And it's a reminder that, and I got to thank Mike Bolton for this one, because he told his daughter, and he told me, you got to mention this on the show. The guy stole cars from gas stations while people were pumping their car. How many of us leave our keys in the ignition?
Well, exactly. I mean, and I do that all the time. I mean, you never think twice about it. In fact, I will think twice about, stop at a 7-Eleven or something. And, there are people who actually leave their car running and run into a 7-Eleven to grab something. I'm going to myself, boy, they're sure trusting.
Well, a lot of people, they used to complain that police officers, when they stop at 7-Elevens or whatever, they leave their car running. But that is a requirement of the department because the computer system and quite a few other things that they have in the car.
Right. But they also lock the door of their car.
Exactly.
They don't leave their car, running and the keys in it and the door open.
We haven't had one of those in Burbank lately. Last was a parking control officer, I think.
Yeah.
Lost a car. But here's just a friendly reminder from, you don't think of it, pull your keys out and put them in your pocket.
Yeah, and especially, if you've got, even if you have somebody in the car waiting, I mean,
well,
there was a kid in the car, yeah. Her son was in the car, like 13, 14-year-old son, and thank goodness the guy said, hey, get out of the car, and he was more than happy to get out of the car, and then,
But when he got in and the kid was in the car, that probably changed that crime from just a pretty, a pursuit to now a kidnapping.
Well, what happens, they write down every traffic infraction, every single thing that happens, and then the DA will get it and plead it down to a
disturbing the peace.
Yeah, disturbing the peace or something. So I don't think it really matters. They'll present a great case, but the DA is going to say, yeah, well, we just don't have the, we're not going to prosecute.
And now I guess I am hearing from officers and people, they're back to, instead of booking people, give them a ticket and you got to show up. They're clearing the jails, keeping the jails clear. So.
Yeah, well, if they're not going to prosecute them, they're not going to put them in jail. What's the use of spending our tax money putting them in a Burbank jail when they're going to release them right away from out of the county jail?
Yep. So, friendly reminder, take your keys out of your car. And, I talked to somebody today. COVID is kind of jumping back numbers. When you're at that gas station, putting that pump in, think how many other people have touched that gas handle. If you have some hand sanitizer, highly recommended to use it.
There you go.
Safety tip of the day.
Ross's tip of the day. Well, Tuesday night we had a city council meeting.
Well, that was fun.
And one of the things they talked about was the council districting, which once again I think is a huge issue for our city, and why people are not involved in it, and they're not I heard somebody made 20 maps and sent them in. It wasn't 20 different people. It was the same guy sent like 20 maps in with 20 different names on it. But the point being is that as a community, we're not being engaged in this process. Now, I've said before, and I'll say again, I think the whole thing's a sham. I think it's a shakedown by some lawyer. And I think, when it comes down to once the council decides that you have to put this on the ballot, for a charter amendment, I'm going to hope it gets voted down. I say, you know what? Let's roll the dice. Yeah, it's going to cost us $200,000 or $300,000 in legal fees, maybe. But you know what? After we win the case, then we'll sue the damn lawyer for that $200,000 or $300,000 and watch him have to pay the legal fees on it.
That would be nice. I guess we're kind of wait and see now. Santa Monica is one city that is fighting it.
It's about a month or 2 months away before they actually have the California Supreme Court decision, and that's going to mean a lot. I just, I'm sorry, Nick Gutierrez, whoever the heck you are, if you even exist, you're not disenfranchised, okay? There's not a problem with getting the Hispanic vote out in Burbank. We have Hispanics on the council. If anything, I think Armenians should be upset because, they're not even on the census. There's no way of officially knowing where they are, what districts they live in. So, once again, it's a sham, it's a shakedown, but we need to have involvement from the community. This is if this goes through and it gets voted on and we decide to do it, it is going to change the Burbank politics landscape for decades.
Quite a bit.
So,
well, that you just said it, folks. This is going to change the landscape of Burbank City Council and a mayor and a lot of things. And you need to pay attention and ask your neighbors, are they aware of it? You got to admit, there's signs everywhere, every park building, up and down Chandler. You get them on your TV if you're part of Sam and Spectrum now. I mean,
not as cord cutters.
It just get involved and pay attention because the city's already spent a couple $100,000. I mean, that comes out of general fund, folks.
Yeah, just on consultants. We have consultants for everything. Well, now here's something's going to tie right into this. At the council meeting also, it was found out through residents that they want to cut all the trees down in Niagara because of possible storm damage. They might fall down, things like that. And all the neighbors are very upset. They did a petition and they all came in to talk to nobody coming to talk about the council redistricting. But boy, you talk about cutting down a tree, because I guess a tree is a tangible thing compared to an election, which is just politics. But boy, everybody showed up for that meeting. Now, once again, not on the agenda, so the council cannot discuss it. They cannot talk about it, but they are asking for a full report to come back.
Well,
before
on that,
they start doing any cutting or anything else, and just get an explanation and get some knowledge of the situation first.
Well, it's not only the trees on Niagara; those trees are in other locations.
House Avenue, where that
that one fell into a house, destroyed a car. They need to get and they have the reason. These trees have lived out their maximum lifespan. You got relatives that live out their lifespan. Where do you put them? You got to do something with them. These trees, yes, it'll take years to replant and get trees that are shade, but I get it. I have been out on I don't know how many calls of these trees blocking the street into a house, destroying cars. And we haven't even gotten, this summer with this heat, these trees aren't getting enough water, and so forth. So, what the council requested through the city manager is a full report. Apparently, these residents got a letter saying, I think August 1st, we're going to cut your trees down. And everybody said, what? What if people were on vacation? We're in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
So what it came down to, the head of the Parks and Rec Department, which oversees forestry, Marissa Garcia, got up and explained and apologized numerous times that her department might have jumped the gun on sending that letter out without having a community meeting.
It's another situation that first the Colony Theater in the Park and Rec Department. Now the trees, that's, Park and Rec isn't looking very good right now in a couple areas, and
well, especially on this one. So I guess what they're going to do is they're going to have a community meeting. That you can have a community meeting. People are still going to complain, and you're taking
they're going to vent.
I get it. These shade trees, if you live on that block.
And it's a great look. I mean, it's a very good look on that street. It's very distinct and unique. So
you have to think of the other parts of it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk to we're going to do an Ask the Mayor podcast, and we're going to ask him about it and then have him comment on it on the podcast. So look forward to do that in a couple days. So, they also adopted their second extension to the Gun Moratorium. But they still need more time to work on it because it's a very complicated thing. And when it comes to, how to do it, and, California state laws, the Constitution. And once again, people, nobody's going to come to your house and take your gun away from you. They're not interested in doing that. They're not interested in shutting down the gun stores. They're just trying to put some reasonable stoppage to more gun stores showing up and where they're located.
Yeah, and on that, they made it real clear at that meeting. They have a pretty large work group of people, and to get those people together, not only Burbank, but they're checking with, I believe it's Culver City, some other cities that have enacted laws already. And our city attorney has an assigned assistant city attorney working with this. But you also have to think, you got to think about code enforcement. And some of the things they talked about the other day were these gun stores that are here now. Some of them are a couple blocks from schools. So they have to take that all into effect. So what they requested was an extension that they have more time. And
there's a California law, and I can't remember if it's 800 feet or 1,000 feet that you can't have a gun store located within that distance. And we did a story when we first broke this entire thing about a year ago, when we first put this out, and before anybody even talked about it or knew about it. And we said, hey, you got 14 gun stores in a 5.5 square mile section of Burbank, which is the most dense area of firearm retailers in the country, in fact, in the world. And we did a map, and we showed how close they were to the schools. And what the statute did not say was, is it by streets or is it by how the crow flies? If it's by how the crow flies, there were a lot of stores within that distance that shouldn't be there. But if it's measured on, going down streets, then now all of a sudden they kind of make it. So the law was not distinct in that. So
and there's a lot. That topic alone, I know it's sensitive. I know they're working on it. There's a lot to it, and I have talked to a couple of gun shop owners, and this moratorium stopped everything for them. They couldn't do anything, adjustments, add on, move locations. So we're going to hear more about this. In the next couple
to be
weeks.
Continued. Absolutely. The council also voted not to change the amount of members on the infrastructure committee from 7 to 5. But they did appoint new members as part of their new commissioner and board members. And, in all honesty, if you look at the what they work on and you look at their agendas, very complicated and there's a lot of stuff on there. I have no problem with 7 members.
Well, that committee,
if they're smart, and the top people are on it too. It's just not nincompoops. These are pretty smart people.
I don't think there's any nincompoops on any committees, but
at least you'll say on the air, of course.
They do have history around our city, but this is a board, folks. If you don't remember, when we voted Measure P in, the funds that they collect from
Measure P is what? What's that stand for?
Piss it away. Piss that money away. Well, actually, what that board does, again, they take the funds and they figure out where in the city those funds need to be used. It's either air conditionings, some of our previous councils didn't think of when you put a building in that the air conditioning is going to need repair for the next 20 or 30 years. Or when you do some of the things, major things around our city, we have pools. We have tons of stuff that need lots of money.
Let's talk about the police department building when they put the windows in backwards.
Well, that's
and
just
the
one.
floor leaked and the ceiling leaked and the elevator is now breaking down and holy cow,
Well, that the funds that
and that's also the problem when you bid things out to the lowest bidder. Well, you get the cheapest work and the cheapest materials to make a price. Well, you get what you pay for sometimes.
That's very true. So what that board does, and like we said, there are some people on it, some very sharp people, and they decide what is the importance of things. To some people, a shade structure at a park, if you have a kid, is more important than putting a roof on a building before the rainy season. Those are the people they get to decide. They work with our public works department. That's who's in charge of buildings and grounds.
And they're also talking about which streets get paved and what order, and and alleys and everything. I mean, it's there's a lot goes on. They do it by sections of the city, but there's a plan, but it's a large expense.
And I think they wanted to reduce the number is because I believe always having all the 7 there was an issue, and that's why. But now
we need 4 for a quorum.
Well, they voted against changing it,
and they should have, because it was not it wouldn't be fair to the night they're going to appoint people say, okay, well, guess what, you applied, but now we're taking those positions away. So I agree with what they did,
and they did apply. They did appoint a couple of people.
Yes, they did.
That brings up the next item they discussed was council commissioners.
Yes,
new commissioners,
and they appointed many in many spaces.
That they did. I saw some names. I will agree.
Any nincompoops?
Well, I didn't see any resumes that said nincompoops on them. But I did read all the resumes, and I'll tell you, some of these people are doctors. I mean, if you have qualifications to be a doctor and you want to sit on a Burbank commission or board, I just, I listen to these meetings and their education kind of makes them stumble a little, some of these meetings. And they did pretty good. They got the meeting done within about a half an hour voting. Our vice mayor was in Washington, so they did a teleconference with him.
I think they had a couple of times though where they kept maybe voting twice on something, or they had to redo the vote. They kind of got mixed up a little bit,
they did do that.
But there was a bounce and check system. They got it figured out.
Yeah, and
we have a great city clerk. She is on the ball and on top of things, and I have nothing but confidence.
We have some new commissioners, and we'll probably have a posting of that and an article of all who was appointed in one of our upcoming myburbank.com stories.
Okay. Well, let's move on to Wednesday here, and we have our infamous police commission who...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I think we do have a thing for our police commission, don't we? It would be...
Yeah, make sure you hit the right one here.
There's a lot to hit here, so I'm just trying to...
Find the right
There
button.
we go.
Well, it's kind of funny because the police commission, yes, that is the good old Dragnet theme. And you watch the commission meeting, and you would think sometimes you're watching a Dragnet theme.
Yeah.
show.
Well, once again, it's a commission that meets and doesn't seem to do anything, but they always get good reports. I will say that they have people lined up doing reports from it. And and in all honesty, there was good information that we did learn in that meeting, which I did not know. And you said there was a presentation by by Sergeant Fletcher Stone, who is the motor officer sergeant for the department. He's in.
Yep.
He talked about bicycles. So what do you have to say?
Well, the point was these motor assisted e-bikes.
And I didn't know there were 3 classes.
Well, three classes. There's 3 classes of roads. It's kind of, I would highly suggest, if you want to know all about e-bikes, I believe class 1, you could ride on the Chandler bike path. Class 2, you can ride on the Chandler bike path. The class 3, you cannot. It's motorized.
Because the class 2s go to 28 miles an hour, where the other ones only go to 20 miles an hour. Plus, there's safety concerns too, as far as you must have a helmet, you must be 16
on the class 3.
On the class 3 only, yes.
And so, if you want to know, Sergeant Stone did a great job with diagrams and so forth. I did not know that these kids on these scooters and e-bikes you can't go into the left-hand turn lane and make a left. You have to get off at the crosswalk and walk it across. You can't ride it on the sidewalks. Well, that's some of the things that they are gonna recommend, Craig, that our city council look at our municipal code, because right now, riding an e-bike on the sidewalk isn't clarified in our municipal code, and they're going to work on that.
Well, yeah. Once again, now we've got technology that was not there 10 years ago.
Well, that's exactly the sergeant said.
Things are changing, and
it's changing daily,
which is a problem I have with the Burbank 2035 plan. It should be a 10-year plan at the most, because there's so much new stuff going on constantly.
Well, like Sergeant Stone said, you go to your computer now, and you can find people are doing everything to bikes, and you can't just look at an e-bike, and assume which class it is, what they've modified in their garage. You put a jet engine on a motorbike, but people are doing that. And that's the thing. The technology, the laws aren't keeping up with technology.
No.
So that is one thing. It was very interesting. Thank goodness I did get out of the report. We've only had a couple of accidents involving e-bikes. And I never knew that's not a motorized vehicle. That is considered a bicycle. So when they now record how an accident occurs, changes everything when they take one of those reports.
Okay.
So they just to round up there, one of the commissioners suggests, a lot of people are on bikes now. Maybe the commission could suggest that the city put on a bicycle rodeo where there's officers out there training and helping and looking at these things. So down the road, we might see a bicycle rodeo. Paul McKenna brought that up. He was involved, I guess, on the transportation board before. So
you remember back in the day, we had our bicycles, and the first thing you had to do was take it to the fire station and get it registered. Your local fire station.
Flip that bike over and the VIN number.
Yeah, they put it on there for you. And then if you were caught doing something, if you got a ticket by a Burbank officer on your bicycle, you had to go into the Burbank Police Department on a Saturday morning and watch their movie and get a lecture about, that's how you dealt with juveniles back then. They didn't fine you, but they gave you a talking to and explain things to you, which, you didn't want to get that ticket. I once got one from not having a light on my bike after dark on my own street. But hey, the rules are the rules, the laws are the laws.
There's just so much now. A lot of people going back to riding bikes. A bike rodeo would be good. But also, most people don't know, you can go online and register your bike. At one time you had to bring them to the police station or fire station. They brought that up. You can register your bike online. I believe it's on the police page. And if it gets stolen, they have some information from your original registration.
I wish that we could figure out ways. make bike riding more safe, though. I look at some of the bike lanes they have. I know on Pass Avenue between Oak and Verdugo. If you go northbound from Oak up to Verdugo, it's a single lane of traffic, and in the middle of that lane, it says bike lane. And I look at that and I say, there's not enough room for a car and a bike to fit in that same area together, but yet they have that designated as a bike lane.
And again, Burbank has 3 different types of class bike lanes in the city, and a bike in that bike lane has the right of way as from California law.
Well, the law has it, but you get hit with a car or that bike. You may have the right of way, but you still got hit. And in all honesty, I'll be very honest. I'm even worried to ride a bike on Verdugo in the bike lane that they've now created by having 1 lane instead of 2, because the way people are nowadays, they're always texting. They're always looking at their phone. Yeah, is that illegal? Absolutely. Do they do that? Yes, they do. And when they do it, the car kind of, they don't watch exactly where their car is going. They kind of, drifts a little bit. You drift in that bike lane even 2 or 3 feet, and there's a guy in a wheelchair, a motorized wheelchair or a bicycle. They get clobbered, and it's an accident. You didn't mean to do it. Nobody's trying to hit anybody, but people do not watch the road and concentrate on their driving the way they used to.
There's too much navigation
going on.
Too much navigation in your car. You got Teslas that you have a computer screen in there, adjusting everything. Other cars, I agree. Now, I used to live right off of Verdugo, and I watch people use that bike path. It does get used. Some people say they've sat in there and looked.
No, I've seen people on it, but I'd tell you, I'd be scared to do it just because I just don't trust drivers.
On Verdugo, what I've seen more lately are these people that use the center divider to pass people that are going too slow.
Yes, I've seen that too.
And that is illegal, but again,
I don't know. I don't know if this is legal or not, but I would recommend going against traffic in the bike lane so you can see cars coming towards you.
I don't think that's legal.
Well, I'd rather see a car coming towards me so I could get out of the way instead of all of a sudden saying, "What did I just get hit by?"
Yeah, it kind of gets me, especially on Verdugo, where I've seen elderly people in their little jazzy, assisted wheelchairs cruising along, thinking, "Oh, this lane was made for me." And then you have a bicycle come up behind them and go into traffic and around them. So if you want to look at that, like I said, Sergeant Fletcher Stone did a great report. You can go online, the city's page, look at, past police commission meetings. They were pretty quick on him doing his report. So very informational.
It's just too bad that you're forced to go trying to find a police commission meeting to see information like this. It should be, maybe the city should put a whole video together and put that on their cord-cutting Spectrum channel that nobody's watching anymore. They say 70% of the people have now cut the cord. There's only 30% of people watching cable or satellite.
Yeah, but I kind of look at those numbers. They still have a couple of hundred people.
Oh, they do. They also talked about on August 5th, an event which will be a lot of fun for people. They're going to take a tooth out of crime. Wait a second. Did I say a scoop out of crime at Foster Freeze? You mean
I have to put my tooth in?
Yeah, you got to put your tooth back in. Yeah, it was funny at the meeting. They actually they said the event is called "Take a Scoop Out of Crime," and one of the commissioners thought he was saying "Take a tooth out of crime," and couldn't figure out why they wanted to take a tooth out until they had to explain it to him.
So I got to explain that is a temporary, what they call a flapper tooth. People that have had injuries or whatever, that tooth, after biting into
You didn't get that at Flappers, did you?
No, I didn't get a Flappers, but I bit into a burger at Bob's Big Boy and found a piece of bone in it that cracked that tooth right at my gum. And it's a very expensive procedure to have your tooth replaced.
Well, speaking of Bob's Big Boy, you can cheeseburger. You can also if you ever need to study your history, you can go there.
Literally,
you can get a study of ancient Greece there. But there we go. So anyhow, on August 5th, the first 300 people under age 18 and under will get a free scoop of ice cream. You can meet some of the officers. You can meet the command staff. They're going to be out there and talking to people. And let me, Burbank Police's command staff, and by command staff we're talking about captains and assistant chiefs and chiefs and all those types of people, they go to a lot of events and they want to talk to people. They do not separate themselves and say, hey, we got things that, don't deal with us. They're always accessible and they want to hear from you. They want to talk to you.
Well, this is another good event for kids. The last ones they've had a couple kids, the relationship between police officers and kids. I'll tell you, I've been around this town, I guess, a little too long. I used to work at that Foster Freeze. I used to be a cook.
And by the way, the Foster is at Angelino and Glen Oaks.
Right, 201, right there on the corner. Know the owner quite well. Now, there's some requirements. The first 300 people under the age of 18 will get a free, well, they say scoop. If you've been to Foster Freeze, they don't scoop. They have a machine. Don't know if they're going to put it in a cup, in a cone, but chocolate or vanilla. But he's prepared. And like I said, I drove past there Friday night. There's a huge car show that goes on there. Next week, I think I want to go check out the cars. I was totally amazed. On Friday nights, there's a car show at that Foster Freeze. So that is August 5th. Take a scoop. And this is put on by the Police Foundation. You kind of wonder, you get this advertisement in the mail sometime, Burbank Police Foundation. This is an event that they put on to get that relationship between the public and the police. And I just found out recently, you write or you call the police department, you write an email, you are guaranteed to get a call back or a response from the chief or somebody. He says that is one of their things. Well, they're coming out to the public, folks. Come out and meet them and talk to them, and We'll even be there.
Absolutely. Thursday, the school board met, and they gave out their raises to their administrators, and they also approved the caps on the coaches' summer salaries. So there's a slap in the face to every high school coach out there who they now think administrators deserve more money, but not coaches who spend 6 hours a day out in the hot sun working with kids. I had my say last time. I'm moving on, but it's a sad state of affairs for our schools when there's just not one person there who has any experience as a coach. They're all disconnected. Anyhow, hey, so we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back after this.
How would you like your business advertised in this very spot? myBurbank Talks is looking for businesses interested in a 30-second spot to appear in our podcasts. If you're interested, please email advertising@myburbank.com, and we'll be glad to discuss all of the exciting opportunities with you. Now, back to our podcast.
Go to me. You know what? Before we jump into the week that will be, I forgot when we had our meeting, and I know I scratch my head. I try to think of these things. The La Providencia Guild had their gala on Saturday, this last Saturday. We had our ace club reporter.
Now, I didn't have to fly him in on our budget, did we?
What do you mean? We got the myBurbank jet.
Oh.
That brought Greg Samay, who a lot of people follow Greg Samay. Him and his wife came back for the guild event. We're going to have a story that he wrote and pictures that just got sent to us in the next day or two. It was a hats off affair, I hear. I believe a lot of women were wearing hats showing their different fashions.
Showing their what?
Yes,
okay.
Their fashions, and he wrote it up. The big thing about the La Providencia Guild, I don't think people know, they have a thrift store on Burbank Boulevard, and that's what the guild does. They work, they volunteer, you can go find some really good
and all
stuff.
The money goes to the hospital to support that, and they're not there making money.
Nope. And they remodeled that store we did the ribbon cutting not too long ago. It's really good to go in there, and they have great stuff. So support La Providencia Guild. That was last Saturday. Let's move into this week.
Let's talk about the week that will be. And
will be?
Yep.
You mean this week?
Tonight we've already missed it, I think, but they had a planning commission meeting, and The only thing on the agenda was one thing only, and that is that the MGM Sphere. How do you say it?
Sphere.
I don't know. It's
that funny golf ball looking thing.
That dome thing that the roof keeps blowing off of by the airport. Anyhow, they want to replace their 20 temporary seats in there with a temporary rise. It's going to hold 200 people so they can start doing test audiences. Now, they have 54 parking places, so I guess that means 4 people better come in every car.
Well, one of the reasons we ran the story when they did their grand opening of that dome, they built the actual dome. Right now, they're going to build them all over the world. But the first one has opened up in Las Vegas,
which cost around $2.2 billion.
And that gentleman that owns that also, I believe, owns the New York Knicks and quite a bit of other things. He chose Burbank over 20 spots to put their office. So what they do is they do creation here, R&D, research and development.
And I think that's about one quarter the size or 1/5 the size of the real dome, and they're doing it just to, put a stage and get some, it's to create things,
right?
And then they make it on a bigger basis for their bigger domes.
Well, this is where they do all their research and development, and inside that dome, I was in it. I've gotten to see their demo. I was in a race car. I felt the wind hitting me. We went down, we were in snow and the room chilled up on us. My chair moved. I mean, what is going to go on in the big dome is amazing, but they chose Burbank. They have offices. MGM has offices over at the NBC property on Alameda right now. And
well, we talked about how things change. Well, again, here's the next level of entertainment for people because, you go to the movie theater. Well, you can get TVs now about as big as movie screens. Why go to a movie theater? Well, if you go there now and experience the wind in your face and vibrations and everything else, it gives you reason to go and see this stuff. Now, I hear U2 is going to be their first act and be a residency in that dome in Las Vegas.
Right.
And they've got a lot of it's all lit up on the outside. They put all the LEDs on the outside, unlike here in Burbank. I saw it was a giant eyeball. And I go, holy cow! That's creepy.
But the other reason they wanted to go right there where they are, and that is that building right next to the airport. They can fly these acts in from Vegas. You drive a car right across the street. You can rehearse. There's a hotel right there. You could put your talent in. And you could stay for a day or a week.
Right down the street on Empire, they have that with the stage that the major rock acts go and practice before they go on their big center staging. And that's where Michael Jackson was and rehearsing for his concert tour when he died. He didn't die there, but he was at the time he had it reserved out. So,
yeah, that building is Jeff Worth property, and Jeff has the high rises down. He's the one that is redoing the Warner Brothers Ranch. With more stages, but I believe that would be approved pretty quick because that is just another entertainment, venue that we are. It's great to have them in Burbank.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing I think I saw on the planning board's agenda.
That was it. One thing and one thing only.
One thing and one thing only.
Council meeting on Tuesday.
One
of the things they're going to talk about is
tomorrow
on the consent agenda. That's tomorrow.
Are you sure it's tomorrow?
Well, it could be today if it's already past midnight, but
we won't tell anybody.
We go late on these things sometimes. Like the council meetings go late.
Well, they have a short agenda.
Oh, do we have to vote if we're going to go past 11 o'clock at night?
I don't know. Dodger, will you put a paw up? Most people, we have never done the introduction. Our other podcast partner, our engineer, Craig Derling's not with us tonight. He just returned from a trip.
We have Dodger the dog right down here, who's always guarding the door.
Yeah, we have Dodger the dog in here, but Craig just returned from a trip, so he was a little bit jet lagged to come in here. And Austin is probably out being Austin.
Well, Austin has a 9 o'clock bedtime.
Oh, that's right.
He's an early riser. He goes on and does horse stuff at Handsome Dam.
He does. He does horse all over California. So the council meeting.
So one of the things, on our consent agenda is they're going to actually continue to lease their heliport hangar, which is nice. With Burbank and Glendale share together for their air support. But the nice thing is, we own the airport, so guess how much the rent is? $0. We don't have to pay ourselves rent because we own the airport.
And they can respond there rather quickly.
Yes, they can.
Yeah, if you have never been in that building, I have had the pleasure of going in that building. They house several helicopters in there. It's we're in a joint program with Glendale PD. They have 3 helicopters that are housed there. Other departments sometimes fly in there, can go in. They have meeting rooms.
Our helicopters sometimes fly to Pasadena. There are helipads over there, too. I mean, yeah, they're all...
When you're up in the air for many hours...
family.
When you're in the air for many hours and you got to use a bathroom, sometimes you just don't land where you want. So, but, yeah, they did approve that, or they're probably going to approve that.
Yeah, I can't see why. It's on the consent agenda. They are going to have a public hearing for the streamlining process for the SB 35 project at 910 South Mariposa.
Now, this is where that toilet should be used. Yeah,
there we go. I'll give you that one. Here's the thing. The developers came in there and they were going, they bought the property. You have to understand, the city cannot stop somebody from doing something legally. They can't make rules up after you've done something legally. So that was going to go in, but the neighbors all got together and said, yeah, you put these offices in here, we're going to fight it, planning board, everything else. So the developer said, you know what, fine, you want to fight us? Here's what we're going to do. Now it's an SB 35 project. So guess what? Everybody loses their say-so now. Now it goes, you can't stop us, and it's Burbank City Council is not trying to ruin the equestrian neighborhood. Nobody's trying to, ruin it. The problem is that you can't stop local laws. Can't stop these projects from happening. Local zoning cannot stop this.
I totally get. I see online. I get in my email daily. Assist this group. We need legal funds. We need help, folks. You want to cry to Burbank City Hall? You're just wasting your time.
Because they can't do anything. Their hands are tied.
Their hands are tied when the state says you are going to do this, this, and this. If not, we're taking things away from you.
Right. And we're going to talk to the mayor about that on his Ask the Mayor show coming up, too. We're going to discuss that as much as we can. But that's going to have a public hearing on that.
If you're wondering, that's the project at 910 South Mariposa. I just saw an aerial shot of that. That's right next to the bridge. Goes over the river that has been there for years. I saw the video that people have done. They are pulling at your heartstrings. But folks, you need to go up. You need to write and complain to the state,
our assembly member and our state senators, because those are the people who made that. It's SB 35, which is Senate Bill 35. So that's what
they're the same ones that are putting. Okay, a project, not good. Over on Empire, 7 stories, a couple hundred units.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
With 7 parking spaces.
But they have 1 handicap spot.
Well.
And guess what? There's a bus stop across the street, so they have mass transit there, too. So the one bus that runs once an hour, all 450 people can go get on that bus and go somewhere because they can't park anywhere.
And I know we had received communications from the developer that is developing the 910 South Mariposa before he...
Yeah, he's actually been trying to work with people, but the residents there are just so dead set on anything.
Yep. You guys, it's a state...
Whole Foods Market can tell you all about it.
Well, that, and I get it. They don't want to change, and I don't blame them. It's nice having horses in Burbank. What other city in LA, we have...
Yeah, I mean, no, I think the area should be protected, but the problem is how do we protect it? I'm sure the city is looking into different ways that we can protect that area and do things, but, this whole SB 35 thing just caught everybody off guard.
How much did the city lose, Craig, on the Pickwick deal?
$270,000 so far. So far, they did not settle the other lawsuit yet.
Okay, so the city tried.
Or if they did, they have not disclosed it. Which
and that's what's kind of annoying is, You know, the developer went back and redid those after meeting with the people. I get it. They don't want change. But you know what? It's going to happen, folks.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. The other thing the council is going to talk about is they're going to discuss going from stage 2 to 3 on the watering, which basically means right now we're allowed to water 2 days a week, which is Tuesdays and Saturdays. And they're talking right now that they may go to increase it like Pasadena has to 3 days a week. Glendale stayed at 2 days a week, but Pasadena's going to go to 3 days a week. And that would actually increase the gross revenue of $1.6 million per year for the city. So you water your lawn, you're going to pay the price. The city's going to make some more money. But if the water's there, we'll be okay. I mean, so they'll discuss that. Let's hope they do, because brown lawns do not look attractive.
No, I had some problems with the brown lawn, and the gardener's been, hand watering it and so forth. And I just drove by the reservoirs that are along the 170 freeway at the 5. First time I've seen water in those in years. So
I won't get into it, but the city of Burbank does not own any of the rainwater. All the rainwater that comes down has to go. The city of Los Angeles owns all that. We had to sign some kind of agreement that gave them the rights to all the rainwater. So I don't know how that happened. I don't know how we would change that, but it makes no sense to me that we don't at least get the rain that comes down in our own city. It's funny how much that rain comes down the street, goes into the LA River, and goes to the ocean. But we can't save it, but it can go to the ocean.
Yeah, pretty crazy there.
Yeah. Moving on to Wednesday, we're going to have a grand opening of Cypher VR, which is a virtual reality place. They have escape rooms and virtual reality escape rooms and everything else. It's located at 2806 Burbank Boulevard. I know Ashley, our crack reporter, has took her kids there and did a little story on it.
She's gone there a couple of times. They love it so much. The owners of this place came and looked around. They're from Australia. They came to Burbank and they immediately said, "We want to open our business here in Burbank." They are fantastic people. They're
media capital of the world.
Media capital of the world, but they also found the people in Burbank are friendly. They opened their business. They've had a great time. They're loving it. So, again, the Chamber's doing a ribbon cutting on Wednesday.
5 to 6 p.m.
Yep.
Okay.
Great place. I mean, if you have kids or grandkids and listen to our podcast, you want to do something fun with them, here's a place in Burbank you could patronize a Burbank business, but also watch your grandkids have a good time.
Well, Thursday, if you're talking about kids, I hear that it's Bring Your Kid to Work Day in the city of Burbank. So we might have some young people running our city, and who knows what's going to happen. We might have VR everywhere. We might have AI everywhere. In fact, we have all the initials everywhere, So who knows, those are our future leaders, and let them get a taste. Let them see what mom and dad do, Let them see that, they do important stuff every day. At least, hopefully, important stuff.
Well, in years past, I have photographed Bring Your Kid to Work
There
Day.
you go.
Boy, that tooth is out of place.
Easy for you to say.
But it's kind of fun for, some of our people that works in Park and Rec or at the police department that, not officers on the street, firefighters, the secretaries, even our city manager and all their staff. That is the day, and they're doing it during the summer. The mayor will give them a little greeting in the morning. They have some gifts for them, I think, some surprises, and then they go with their parents today.
It'd be a good event for everybody. Later today, the Infrastructure Oversight Board meeting has been canceled.
Oh,
so they're all on vacation. And the Advisory Council on Disabilities monthly meeting will be at 1:30 p.m. and it'll be virtual. So you can go to the city website and figure out. Hopefully, the senior citizens or the people on disability are able to get on computers and. See
with the weather that's this week, I probably smart them staying home and turn it on
Be very hot. Okay, now here's something that we're going to throw at you. The city's going to have a virtual meeting on Thursday from 6 to 7:15. I can't imagine this all being done in an hour and 15 minutes. And let's hope that whoever's doing this is not going to push a button at 7:15 and say, "Oh, thank you very much, goodbye," because they are supposed to take questions and comments, and it's all about the SB 35 projects that are going to be on Empire.
Wait, the door's locked at that building at 7:00.
Well,
I think these people might get stuck.
I think you can walk out. You can't walk in.
Oh, okay.
But this meeting, okay, and this is about three of the SB 35 projects at Empire. One of them is at 2814 Empire, which is going to be 148 units. The project at 3000 Empire is going to be 337 units. And a project at 3001 Empire is going to be 131 units. So this is the purpose of this meeting is to give citizens information and basically let them know they can't stop these projects, and they're going to go in there. Now we're going to talk to the mayor about this on our Ask the Mayor show and have him. We're going to talk about infrastructure. We're going to talk about different aspects of it, and we're not even talking about the project that's going to happen over at the old Fry's site.
I'm trying to figure out. You rattled off all the places and the units, folks. 600 units,
and that's not counting the Fry site.
Oh, right, not counting the Fry site in the Empire between Hollywood Way or Avon
and Buena Vista.
And Buena Vista, that block there is going to have over 600 units that are SB 35. The city can't say, no, you can't do this. And I know I looked at a couple of them. Again, minimal parking. They're putting them in because there's a bus stop.
There's this bus stop across the street. One bus stop.
And a train and planes nearby.
But they're not convenient. You got to walk a quarter mile to get to them.
Yeah, folks, I believe in progress. I believe doing things properly. But the state is taking away our control. And that's how this is going to look in 5 years when these are all built. We don't have enough police officers, folks. We need police officers. We're at our minimums now. Put in 600 here. Put in 800 over on Hollywood Way.
Well, and fire and paramedics too. I heard today there was, all three of our rigs were out on calls. And the Glendale guys are busy, and they had a first aid here in Burbank, and they had to send Pasadena paramedics out. Now, if you're running from Pasadena, even 60 miles an hour on the freeway, just because they have lights and sirens doesn't mean they can go 100 miles an hour on a freeway. But that's still going to take 20 to 25 minutes to get paramedics here because we didn't have enough just to cover the city, which is understandable, but it's nobody's fault. But we're going to need more paramedics. We're going to need more infrastructure items, and you're talking power, you're talking sewer systems. Like I say, we're going to talk to the mayor about this, and I'm sure he'll have some thoughts on this. But
well, I remember when they put in the Talaria project, Burbank firefighters said, and this was years ago, that building's been in many years now, with the added people that are moving into Burbank, taking over, living here, we're going to have so many more calls and so forth. And it's just, look at the number of people. These are units. I guarantee that would mean several thousand people.
Yeah, not one person lives in
right
by himself.
You calculate that out.
Figure a family of three.
And I'm sorry to say, in California, doesn't everybody drive?
You have to. All your transportation shuts down at 7:00, especially in Burbank buses.
Yeah, so. As you can tell, it's a hot topic, and I just can't believe the state of California, is trampling on destroying Burbank like that.
Yeah, I just think, the law was well-meaning in the thought, but it was not thought out about what would happen. You can't just have one generic law work for 400 cities in the state. I mean, every city has a unique flavor to it, and now you've just taken that flavor away. You've just said, you know what, you're all the same, and we're going to create the projects in every city now. So,
yeah, that's a shocker.
And these developers, I don't think they give a damn. They're not local developers. They don't give a damn about Burbank. They don't live here. They just want to make some money. Put in these things, and it's just going to be a bad. It's going to be a bad feel, I think. Better news. Let's move on to Friday.
Friday.
Ross? What returns to Burbank on Friday after a long absence? What's coming back now?
Well, it's been called several things: ladies and gents night out, ladies night out. It's been called a couple things because of COVID and other reasons. Magnolia Park stopped doing it. Food trucks couldn't work. There were a lot of food trucks shut down. Magnolia Park Merchants Association is bringing back Food Truck Friday night. And it's going to be in Magnolia Park. I'm told as of today, if they get their permit. That's a whole nother topic we can talk about.
That once again, city staff just dropping the ball on why are there no events in Burbank? Here's another reason.
The permits were put in on time and happened to sit on somebody's desk apparently and not move along for a couple of days.
I've heard so many times, well, so-and-so is out this week on vacation. Does that mean that it just shuts down? There's nobody who takes over that workload. They have nobody comes. I can't believe how I've heard this over and over again, where nobody comes in and takes over a project or works on. No, that person's gone, so it's going to sit there until they come back. If they're on maternity leave, well, you'll see them again in 3 months.
Well, on this one, hopefully there's a new person running it. Our own Ashley Erickson did the Magnolia Park for many years. She retired from that duty, and somebody else, Jeff, has taken it over. Jeff Ferguson, one of the board members, and I'm told as of today, he has 19 trucks guaranteed, and all along the boulevard, there's some new posters that are going to be put out. So hopefully the weather will be great. But you might go shopping, and that's what we had a mixer last week. Stop in those businesses. I bet you haven't been in, I could say probably 5, 6, 7 of those businesses.
And there's several new businesses there.
There are. And now would be a good time. Stop in, take a look around. But this Friday night, 6 to 9, expect traffic to be maybe backed up on Magnolia. If you need to go somewhere, take that into consideration. But Magnolia Park is working to bring back Food Truck Friday night for a couple of events.
Oh, that's good. I think it's a great community event. Put on your calendar of news to note for the future. We have on August 1st, National Night Out coming up, which
wait, we jumped a page.
We jumped a page.
We did. Saturday the 29th.
Oh, we did. That's right. The Burbank Young Professionals Grill and Give.
Grill and Give
at Johnny Carson Park. I did miss that.
Well, it's on the backside of that page. The Grill and Give BYP, Burbank Young Professionals, works. They're an offset from the Burbank Chamber of Commerce. These are young professionals in our city. We have a lot of entrepreneurs. We have a lot of post-production and production people that have started their own business here in Burbank. They have a very large group. They are putting together what other organizations have done in previous years. Kids need supplies for school that's starting here in a couple of weeks. So they are moving this. It used to be on Grismer. It's been a different location. They're moving it to Johnny Carson Park the 29th. I believe 1 to 5. They're going to be grilling.
Free food.
They're going to have some music groups. I don't know if they're doing cheeseburgers, but probably hot dogs. But maybe I hope a burger or two. But they are looking for sponsors so they could buy some of this stuff, giving out backpacks. I hear there's a whole mess of different organizations that will be there. Again, it's free. Come out and meet some of the BYP board. Our own Craig Durling will be working the DJ booth as their DJ at the event. 1 to 5 Saturday. Let's have a party.
Yeah, it'd be a great time. It's a good event. And then one thing we will talk about, August 1st is National Night Out at Johnny Carson Park also.
The park's finally getting used properly.
It is. So there'll be many local community members who have their own events at their own residences and on their streets and their blocks. So you should ask your neighbors if they know of anything going on in your own neighborhood. So it's always if anything, it's a good way for all the neighbors to get together and just say hi to each other.
Well, there's about a dozen homes that have decided to put on block parties. I started one when I lived on Orange Grove, and the police department had a little pre-planning meeting the other day. I went there. They still do it. I planted a seed. The neighbor across the street took it over, and the neighbors were there.
And I know our Ashley Erickson has a huge shindig on her block.
And guaranteed, if Ashley's over there on Evergreen, she's doing a dinosaur theme. I guess she's bringing in dinosaurs. But the fire department will be at the locations. I know, like I said, check with your neighbors. There's a couple on Frederick. There's a couple over on Evergreen. There's a couple up on the hill. But the biggest and the greatest will be at Johnny Carson Park. The command staff will be there. I'm told 20 community booths. A lot of action going from 5:30 to probably 7 at there. A lot of handouts, lots of freebies. And then the command staff goes with our city council members and we'll go off to the houses, so forth. So great event. Come on out.
Absolutely. Now, we're kind of wrapping up the show, and we're going to our favorite section, the pet peeves.
Now we got to. We didn't come up with it. We got.
Well,
let's work on a sound for our pet peeve.
We will come up with a sound effect for pet peeves. But I'm going to say this: we got a very nice email from Karen, and
this is not just a regular Karen.
No, this is a Karen.
This is a supporter and a follower.
A Karen with a brain. She listened to your pet peeve last week about the weeds in Burbank, and she said, if you want to get weeds removed, to use the 311 app. And she just says, you go to the 311 app, you create a new request, you click street services, then you click pothole, street, and sidewalk services, then you select weed abatement from a drop-down menu and fill out the information on the form. And really good information. I did not know the 311 app. In fact, you did not know the 311 app did that either. So it was great of her to point that out to us. So we're passing that along. So,
but my pet peeve continues with that. Then the 311 app, you need to shoot a picture if it's graffiti, if it's weeds or whatever, and that geotags where it is. So if you're driving down Magnolia and you see a mattress out on the sidewalk, you literally need to stop, shoot a picture of it.
If it's important enough for you to report it, it should be important enough for you to stop. Just like a passerby reports that accident somewhere and keeps on driving and they can't find it.
I would think, on people do drive by, they see refrigerators left out. I would think that you could put something in without stopping and take it. Because when you get home, that's when you remember to put it in.
Yeah, that's true.
So
at least take the picture there and then fill out the forms at home.
You haven't been driving lately and shooting
hopefully not. Now, Karen also had a pet peeve, and she passed on to us.
So now we're going to have reader.
Well, yeah, you know what? When she sends an email, I mean, I think we need to pay attention to it. So her pet peeve is that the Starbucks in her area has a parking lot. It's the one off of Keeler. But she says people insist on parking in the red zone on both sides of the street on Keeler to go in and grab their coffee. No one does anything about it, and it creates quite a traffic jam, especially when we have cars parked in the red zone on both sides of the street. So I'm just wondering if maybe our traffic division might listen in on this, and the way they do enforcement at schools, and the red zones, maybe they can do an enforcement at the Starbucks over on Keeler Street. I'm not familiar with that. Are you familiar with that right area where that Starbucks is?
Yeah, I happen to live a block away.
Well, that's right. That's why I said that.
But yeah, that's a problem with quite a few of the Starbucks. People park illegally and so forth.
I bet you they go in and leave their keys in their car, too.
Well, if they do, that's kind of dumb. It blows me away, and maybe some readers can give me some thought or light on this. I personally am not a coffee drinker, for personal reasons, but they are opening. We have how many Starbucks in town? There are new coffee shops opening almost by the week. We now have, this is going to bring back people.
Is this a pet peeve, by the way?
Well,
Are you coming with a pet peeve on Karen, on the back of Karen's pet peeve?
not really, but this is, she's talking about Starbucks.
Yeah.
How many people remember Pizza Pie? Now,
Reese and Magnolia.
That place was, 6 feet by 6 feet?
Yeah.
But they made the best pizza.
Lunchtime at Burroughs, you would sprint over there to get, because if you didn't get there fast, you wouldn't get the pizza in time.
That's right. Well, I guess over that, an office building was built there, but right next door was Sognellian's auto upholstery shop. Well, he closed a while ago, and I'm told that Kathy's, our sister's coffee, another new coffee place is open up, and I'm told, I've had people come up to me, have you gone to, I don't drink coffee, so I haven't gone in there yet, but they remodeled the place, they opened up, it's a new coffee house. So,
we got that
sisters.
a new coffee place over on Pass and Riverside, which is right down the street from Priscilla's, which is right across the street from Starbucks.
Well, thanks to my smartphone, I just quickly, Three Sisters Coffee, 1706 West Magnolia, go in there and ask for pizza, and they're going to scratch their head and go, what are you talking about?
I want to know, though, how many cups of coffee do you have to sell in a day to pay your rent? I just can't imagine how much, you pay your rent, you pay your taxes, you pay your employees, pay the cost of the coffee. How much do you guys sell a day in that stuff?
And we got some great coffee places in Burbank. Priscilla's, how long have they been here?
Oh, they're the, they're the king daddy.
Well, I think down in the west part of town, over on Burbank Boulevard, you have.
And you have, who just celebrated their 30th anniversary? It was,
Romancing the
Bean. Absolutely.
Well, it must work because she's been doing it for 30 years. So,
but she has a good clientele too, a very loyal clientele.
Yep. And also, I just read, not a pet peeve, but we'll finish up the show. I understand there's going to be a Wingstop going into where Randy's Donuts and Jersey Mike's is at 3000 Hollywood Way. So the people that are living up on the hill or going to the airport, you're going to have a Wingstop right next to Randy's Donuts there on Hollywood Way. Just a tidbit for you.
That's the Wingstop that probably used to be in the by the old Zodi's.
Well, they're still there, and you kind of wonder because all
there?
those places are closing. Yeah,
interesting.
We really gave people a lot of things about Burbank tonight.
Oh, we try.
Well, that's what we try to do, and if you have questions, send us your emails. We'll try to figure it out, and if you have a pet peeve, or we'll listen to your pet peeve.
We'll read your emails.
That's right. Good show. The week that was, the week that will be, and if not, we'll see you at one of these events. Scoop, Tooth, BYB, ribbon cutting, CVR, RVC. We'll be somewhere.
That's it. That's it for this week. We'll see you later.
myBurbank Talks would like to thank all of myBurbank's advertisers for their continued support. Burbank Water and Power, Cusimano Real Estate Group, Providence St. Joseph Medical Center, Burbank Chamber of Commerce, UME Credit Union, Tequila's Cantina and Grill, UCLA Health, Gain Credit Union, Community Chevrolet, Media City Credit Union, Eric Garcia of Farmers Insurance, Providence High School, UPS Store on 3rd Street, and Hill Street Cafe.